How to make your NoFap streak longer. I'm going to show you how to make your NoFap streak longer and stronger. Hi everybody, and welcome to One Mail. Many people think that NoFap is just about abstaining from masturbation, but that's not true. I know it can be very hard to have a long streak, especially if you are continually bombarded with temptations. But you can do many other things to help keep your streak going and improve your life in the process. In this video, I'm going to show you a few simple techniques that can help you make your NoFap streak longer without having to resort to willpower alone. So stay tuned, and I'll show you what they are. I will show you exactly how to get a 30-day NoFap streak regardless of your current best spot. I'm going to tell you about mindset motivation planning and how to deal with triggers, which are both necessary for success. The first step is to change your mindset. So, it would help if you didn't think about NoFap streaks like failing and succeeding. Instead, think of it as a process in which you either succeed or fail. I'll return to how you can do this later in the video. Of course, you want to start and be great at NoFap right away, but that is not the case for most people. I began doing NoFap more than 5 years ago and repeatedly failed at first. I wanted to succeed, but it seemed impossible because I would relapse every time I had a few-day streak. This was because I relied solely on my self-control, which wasn't all that strong back then. Your self-control will improve over time, but most people require more than that at first. You need a game plan, which I will provide you now. After you've made this mental shift, you should write down a few things to keep yourself motivated. First and foremost, you must write your reasons for quitting. Do you want to improve your motivation, social life, self-control, or something else? Make a list of whatever motivates you. When you finish this, you'll have written down your goals. Setting goals is essential for success, as anyone who has tried to quit an addiction knows. Without clear objectives, it is all too easy to succumb to temptation or become discouraged by setbacks. This is especially true when it comes to overcoming a pornographic addiction, which is why setting NoFap goals is critical. You can stay focused and motivated even when things get tough by clearly articulating your goals. Furthermore, having specific goals makes it easier to track your progress and identify potential roadblocks. So, if you're serious about quitting pornography, make a list of your NoFap objectives. It could mean the difference between finally breaking free from this destructive habit. This is highly beneficial, but it becomes even more potent when you write down where you'll be in 5 to 10 years if you don't quit. So, the next step is for you to write down your worst-case scenario for where you'll be in 5 to 10 years if you don't quit. Write down what you fear the most about what might happen if you don't stop. This could be because you lack motivation, have a terrible dating life, or something else prevents you from reaching your goals. Write down whatever you are most afraid of. After you've written these things down, you'll have a better idea of where you can go in the future. My experience has been that your fear of the worst-case scenario will make it easier to move towards your desired system if you successfully quit and where you'll be if you don't. Now that you have the mindset and motivation to succeed, we'll move on to the next critical step. This is the strategy. This is simple but effective, and I haven't heard anyone else mention it. Planning entails proactively dealing with your triggers. Triggers are emotions or circumstances that cause you to relapse. We'll start by talking about how to deal with triggers proactively, then we'll talk about how to deal with emotions proactively, and finally, we'll talk about coping with triggers that caused you to relapse. When you wake up, write down in broad strokes what you intend to do that day. Next, identify situations in which you may struggle to resist your urges. This used to be late in the afternoon or early in the evening when I was sitting alone in my room. Once you've identified these situations, consider what you can do to make them easier or how you can avoid them altogether. As previously stated, self-control will allow you to maintain a long NoFap streak, but you most likely lack it initially. Whether trying to change our behavior or resist temptation, we often fight against strong and powerful impulses. However, it is possible to develop greater self-control with practice and effort. Just as we can strengthen our muscles through exercise, we can also train our willpower by regularly practicing delayed gratification. Every time we say no to a tempting treat or resist the urge to procrastinate, we build up our self-control. Over time, we become better able to withstand temptation and make choices that align with our long-term goals. So the next time you struggle to resist temptation, remember that you are building up your self-control muscle. With time and practice, it will become easier and easier to say no. So, if you can find ways to avoid difficult situations, you won't have to rely heavily on your self control. I began planning activities for these times when I realized that the late afternoon and early evening were difficult. I usually take a walk, go to the gym, or go for a run. After that, I'd take a cold shower. These actions had two effects on me. First, I avoided situations where it would be difficult to resist the urge to fap, reducing my cravings. I'd like you to do the same. Consider which conditions may be difficult for you and what else you can do to make them easier or avoid them entirely. If you don't have time to walk or run, I recommend taking a cold shower. Nothing beats a cold shower for killing the urge to fap, and it also makes you feel great due to the neurotransmitters released when you take a cold shower. This brings me to the next critical point: dealing with emotions. I will tell you the 4 emotions that cause masturbation and what you can do about them. If you deal with these emotions proactively, they will not cause you to jerk off like being horny does. The trigger leads to relapse, but I'd like to go deeper, so I'll tell you the 4 emotions that lead to horniness. These feelings include stress, anxiety, boredom, and loneliness. Working out, meditating, and being aware that you must only focus on the things you cannot control are the best ways to deal with stress and anxiety. Because you can change these things, this gives you much power. Finding activities you enjoy is the best way to deal with boredom. Finding your purpose and working hard on it is the best thing you can do. I'm in a flow state when I'm working on my purpose and don't think about anything else. Walking while listening to podcasts is also beneficial. You won't be bored, and stepping outside makes failure difficult. Meeting up with friends or family is the best way to deal with loneliness. If your country is not locked, you can go places and meet new people. In a nutshell, this is how you deal with these 4 emotions. When you eliminate these 4 emotions, your urges will be significantly reduced. But what if I relapsed, you might ask? That's what I'm going to tell you right now. This is where the mindset comes into play. Relapse is an unfortunate but common part of the recovery process. Just because you have experienced a relapse does not mean that you have failed or are destined to always struggle with addiction. Instead, think of relapse as a learning opportunity. It's important to remember that one relapse does not undo all of your progress, even if it feels that way when you relapse. You've still improved your self-control and discipline and discovered a new trigger. What went wrong? What triggers did you encounter? How can you avoid them in the future? By taking a step back and examining what led to your relapse, you can set yourself up for more success in the future. So if you do find yourself struggling after a period of sobriety, don't be discouraged. Looking at your relapse as a chance to learn and grow can help you get back on track and stay sober. You must understand that NoFap is a process. You did not necessarily fail when you relapsed. Instead, you fail only when you give up. You can look at the relapse as a failure, but you can also see it as discovering something else that triggered you. Thomas Edison once said, "I have not failed, I have simply discovered 10,000 ways that will not work." Every time you relapse, you can do something to increase your chances of success the next time. You can accomplish this by noting the reason for your relapse. Write down what triggered you and consider how you will deal with it in the future. When you do this each time you relapse, you constantly identify new triggers. You figure out what things and situations bother you and eliminate them. That is why, when you relapse, it is critical to think of it as a process. You can either feel bad about yourself or think about how you can avoid this relapse in the future by identifying what caused it and planning a strategy to deal with it. Then, attempt, fail, learn, and attempt again until you succeed. This is how you get a 30-day or longer streak. You may not get it on the first try, but if you keep repeating this process, you will eventually get it. So, please begin implementing it once you understand the benefits of NoFap. Also, if you're looking to improve your life in any way, then avoiding edging is a must. In this video, I'll explain why and also offer some tips on how to quit edging for good. Make sure to check it out.